This conference will now be recorded.
So in yesterday's demo class, we saw the introduction that what is Linux, and as we learn, Linux is an open source, free to use operating system. It has many flavors. Red Hat is one of the topmost flavor. So we are going to perform our curriculum, the class on Red Hat. And I told you that in Red Hat you have various certification, RHCSA and RHCE especially. So our curriculum revolves around both RHCSA complete and Ansible automation is something what I wanted to add in this curriculum with this batch. So you will also be getting on Ansible hands-on knowledge, how to work with Ansible automation and all. So today, as I told you that we need to start with basics, very much basics. To know Linux, first we have to learn basics of Unix. And before I can begin the basics of Unix and practicals and all, we need to learn few more theory. So today's class will also be theory, where we are going to talk about the architecture and file system hierarchy, which is very important if you want to learn Linux, right? Then in tomorrow's class, we are going to learn how to do installation, how to set up lab and all. So that next 2 days we won't be having the class, that is Saturday and Sunday as per US standard, and for Indian people it might be Sunday and Monday. So we are going to have classes as per US standard. So as per US's Monday to Friday, that would be for Indian candidates Tuesday to Saturday. That we have to keep in mind. Okay, all right. So today we are going to start working with the file system hierarchy and the architecture, which is the most important thing to understand in order to work with Unix and Linux. So as I told you that we are going to follow this lab manual, which you will get once your registration process is completed, once you have made the fees payments, then you would be getting all these resources. Anyway, let us move forward and let's start with the architecture of Unix. So see how Unix or Linux operating system would work. That's the concept that we are going to cover up. So let me draw something for you so that we can understand better. The innermost layer where the commands will be executed or tasks will be executed is called as hardware layer. All your commands, all your tasks will be executed on hardware layer, right? For example, you want to see what is date and time going on. See, the date and time is stored in a battery, CMOS battery, which is connected to your motherboard, which is what? Hardware. So our system, our operating system will go and ask the question that what is the date and time. So CMOS battery will respond that this is the date, this is the time which is going on right now. Or moreover, you wanted to store some file in a hard disk. So what is the hard disk? It is also hardware where your file is getting stored, from where you are reading the file, from where you are making the changes in the file. So all your tasks or commands will be executed on hardware layer. And this hardware layer is controlled by the most important component of our operating system, which is called as kernel. Yesterday, I told you that OS is nothing but the combination of kernel and various important software. And I told you that kernel is the heart of the operating system. Unless until kernel is alive, your OS is alive. The moment kernel fails, OS also fails. And every type of management in the system is done by kernel, whether you are doing file management, CPU management, memory management, process management, whatever it might be. All these managements are done by kernel alone. So everything in the system will be performed by kernel. We will only give instructions to kernel. Open a browser. It opens the browser. We say open my computer. Kernel opens my computer. We'll say format the hard disk. Kernel will perform that task for you. So everything, whatever we do in the system is performed by whom? Performed by kernel, right? So kernel will also be managing your hardware. But the problem over here is kernel only understands binary or system language. It does not understand the simple language like yours or mine, English or any other language. It only understands the system language, that is binary. Now we, the users, come
Sorry
at
for the
the
disturb.
end.
Hello.
Yes, Shiv. Yes, Shivraj.
Yeah, sorry for the disturbance. Can we record this? How can we record this?
You don't have to do any recording. It is already getting recorded by my side. And
Okay,
every day
okay,
after
because
class, we will get recording.
okay, okay. And one more thing, Musa, I'm commerce background guy, so I need this in detail, and I need this recording also because again and again I listen this and I learn.
See, I am trying to teach in the very, very basic manner that would be understandable by any background. Even if you don't have a knowledge what is computer, even in that scenario also you would be able to work with this. Secondly, every day the recordings will be done and provided to you. That's
Thank you
how
so much.
online classes goes on, right? So every day
Thank you so much.
recording you will get. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much.
Right. So as I was telling you that we, the users, will be coming at the end of the architecture. That is the reason most of the time you might have heard people would say end user, end user. Why we are end user? We are coming at the end of the architecture. We are sitting at the end of the architecture. That is the reason we are usually called as end user. Now you see there is a problem here. We as a user understand human readable language, isn't it? English or Spanish or Hindi or any other, we understand that level language, right?
Yes,
We don't understand systems or binary language, and system does not understand our language. So we have a confusion over here. So we need someone who can convert user language into system language and system language into user language. So we need someone to do this conversion. Now, who is that who converts your language to binary language and binary to your? Now, here comes the role of shell. Now, shell is an interpreter, translator, converter who converts my language into system and system into mine, right? So that's where this particular thing comes into the picture, right? So shell is an interface, guys. Remember this. Shell is an interface that converts our language into system language and system into our. Now, shell are basically of two type. Listen to me very carefully, guys. That shell is of two type. One, it is command line on which we runs the command. Like even if you're working on Windows, I don't know if you have any knowledge on Windows or not, but mostly as we use laptop, desktops regularly in our day-to-day life on Windows, you may also have seen that your Windows operating system comes with a command line, which is called as command line shell. So whatever you are typing over here, for example, dir some command. So you see, this is called command line shell on which we give command. So when we give command, that command will be given to kernel. Kernel will understand that, okay, this guy is asking me to do some task. So through command line, you are giving instructions to kernel. This is command line shell. Or you also get graphical shell. So what is graphical shell? The graphics on which you are working, right click doing something, right left click doing something, double click doing something, right? Graphics are being displayed. These are called graphical shell. But anyway, through shell, we will talk to kernel. Kernel will understand, okay, this user wants me to do something, and it goes and perform the task on so and so specific hardware. For example, let us say I want to see date and time. What is the date and time going on in the system, right? So as a user, I will be accessing the shell. Let me put it with the drawing again. So as a user, I will be accessing the shell, and on the shell, I will run some command. Either the normal command I will run, or graphically I'll go to clock and I will check it out, whatever. So some instruction I will be passing through shell. Let us say I am accessing command. Linux is more on command line. As a Linux user, you should be good at command line. 99% you must work on command line. That is the power of Linux. Otherwise, Linux is also available in graphics as well. But what most of the people see in you is how good you are at command line. So we are going to work everything on command line. Although if you want, you can work with graphics also, but it is highly recommended as a Linux administrator, you should be a command line user. So let us say I took command line shell and I run the command date. There is a simple command, guys, called date. When you run the command date, it prints what is the date and time going on in your system. So when you run the command date, shell will analyze, guys, whether this command what you are running is correct or it is an incorrect command. If it is an incorrect command you have written, you will get error message on the screen that so and so mistake you have done. Or if the command is correct, the shell will convert that English level command into binary and forward it to kernel. Kernel will then understand that, okay, user is asking me to check the date and time. So it goes to CMOS battery and asks the question, tell me what is the date and time going on. So hardware will reply back to kernel that this is the date and time going on in binary instructions. Same instructions kernel will pass to shell. Now what shell will do? Shell will take that incoming instructions, it converts it into user-friendly language and present it to the user. The user will come to know that, okay, this is the date and time going on in my system. So this is the way the operating system, Unix operating, Linux operating, or even Windows operating system would perform. Users will be accessing the shell. On the shell, they will write the command. The command will be converted into binary. Kernel will understand what user is asking me to do, and it forward that information to hardware. Hardware will give the result. It will reply back to shell, and shell will convert the incoming informations from kernel into simple human readable format, and it presents to user. So this is how the workflow of your operating system will be going on. So as you can see, all these components are important, but the most important component is kernel. If kernel does not works, your system does not works. It's the root, it's the heart, it's the soul of your operating system. Remember, kernel is everything for your operating system. If kernel is crashing, your system is crashing. If kernel does not work, your system hangs. So everything depends on whom? Kernel. It's the vital organ of your operating system. Okay, so this is the way the architecture of Unix works out. I hope the concept is clear to both of you, right? Hamid and Shivraj, is it clear?
Yes, just a quick one, please.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so what I want to just understand what shell does is shell converts human readable language to a readable language where kernel can interpret, and also it converts kernel language to a readable language that users can also interpret, right?
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly the same way.
okay. Yeah.
All right. So this is the way the architecture of Unix and Linux works out. Now let us move forward and let us try to learn how operating system stores the data. See, as a Windows user, right? Normally Windows is available in your laptops, desktops, every day we uses it. So if you just go to my computer, right? Like this is my laptop. And if I go into my computer, you see there is C drive in which all my Windows operating system gets stored. Now, if I double click it, you see the data is stored over here. And there is a directory called Windows. Inside it, your entire Windows operating system directories are stored. This is the way operating system will stores the data. But this is Windows. We are not interested to see how Windows stores the data. Let us learn how Linux stores the data. Each directory has its own importance. And as a Linux administrator or Unix administrator, we should know how Unix or Linux stores the data into our system. We call it as file system hierarchy, the way the Linux operating system stores the data. Now, if you observe here, it says one thing. Linux uses single-rooted inverted tree like file system hierarchy. Now, there is a very interesting explanation about it. Let me tell you. See, normally when you see a tree will appear like that. The roots of the tree will come to the bottom and the whole tree will come at the top. This is the way the tree look like. But Linux or Unix, it uses inverted tree. That means the tree is in reverse form. See, the whole tree will come at the bottom and root will come at the top. And you see, it says it uses single root. A tree will have many roots, but Linux or Unix tree will have only one root, right? So Linux uses single rooted tree, a tree with just one root. And that too, the root comes at the top and the whole tree comes at the bottom. That means if you want to go into Linux or Unix operating system, you have to go through that root. The root is top level thing and the whole tree comes under the root. So Linux or Unix uses what? Inverted tree. That means the tree in reverse. Root is at the top and the whole tree comes at the bottom. That is what that line means. So if you want to go into Linux operating system, the main door, the main gate through which you can enter into Linux or Unix operating system is this forward slash. See the forward slash, what you see over there, it's called as root directory, the mother directory to your entire operating system. See, if you want to go inside the root operating system, the main door through which you can enter into your operating system, the mother directory in which the entire operating system is stored, is nothing but your forward slash. The main directory that contains your entire operating system is forward slash. That is the reason it is called as root directory, the topmost directory holding the entire operating system. It is same like Windows folder in C drive if you go and see in your Windows environment. So if you go into My Computer and go to C drive, you will find Windows folder. In Windows folder, entire Windows operating system is there. Same way in our Linux, / is the most important directory that contains your entire operating system. The main door, the main gate through which you can enter into your Linux or Unix operating system is /. Remember that point. Now, when you move into /, you see everything is coming in /. If you see, so all these directories you will find in / only. / is the mother location. In /, when you go, you will find other directories. So it would appear something like this, right? For example, this is the main directory, and inside main directory you are going to find all the subdirectories, like you will have root, you will have var, you will have opt, you will have tmp, you will have usr, all different directory. So mother location is /. When you enter into /, you will see all subdirectories kept inside it, and each subdirectory has its own important. So who is the main and the most important directory? The / directory. What it is called as? It is called as root directory, the root directory that contains your entire operating system. When you go through /, the next directory you will find is root. Now, what is this /root directory? See guys, when we say root, do not get confused. There are two things which is called as root. One is the mother directory, which is called as root, and the other one is the user, the administrator, the most powerful user, the super user. It is also called as root user. So here, root user is the most important user. Root directory is also most important directory. Root user is also very important user. See, who is the most powerful user in Unix and Linux? Root user. Administrator, who can do anything: creating user, deleting user, installing software, uninstalling software, changing networking. All these activities are performed by the most important and powerful user, super user. Every user, listen to me very carefully guys, every user requires to have their personal directory or personal folder to store their data, right? Like when you log in as some user, you will find my documents folder where you store your personal data, isn't it? Same way, every user will get a personal directory to store their data, which is called as home directory. Home directory is the directory associated with every user. Every user will get their personal directory to store the data. So for root, the home directory is /root. So whenever you log in into the system with root name, automatically you will be landing in /root directory. So /root directory is what? It is the home directory, the personal directory to store the data for root user. So root user always maintain his important stuff in /root. It is the personal working directory for root user, right? Fine. Then apart from root user, I may be having many other users created in the system. For example, I create a user Musab, I create a user Hamid, I create a user Shivraj, right? So for every user also, I need a personal directory where Musab will store his data, Shivraj will store his data, Hamid will store his data. So where is other users, non-root user, other users, normal users, home directories are kept, it is kept in /home. So again, what happens over here is root is very important by. He's the boss of the system, most powerful user. So for root, there is a separate directory. But for all normal user, we have one main directory in / with the name home. In home, for every user, you will find a subdirectory will be created. One for Musab, one for Hamid, one for Shivraj, like that, right? So what is the scenario? Let me again explain you. Main directory is /. Inside / you have many subdirectories. You have /root, you have var, you have home. Now inside home, there is one directory for each user. So root is very important. He is VIP. So for root, there is a separate place where his personal data is kept. Nobody can go and see what is the data inside his directory. Only root will be seeing his data because he is a VIP, most important person. Definitely he'll be getting separate thing. But for all normal users that you create, in normal user, there will be home directory. In home directory, one directory for Musab, one for Hamid, one for Shivraj, one for Hamse, all that thing it would be created in that way. So root is important, he'll get a personal separate directory. But for all normal users, the subdirectories are created in /home. It's like you see in your working environment also. The bosses will have a separate room to sit. But for all employees who are working, there will be a common hall and cubicles will be given to you in which you will be sitting. Same like that, root will have a separate location, but for all normal users, the home directories are kept in /home folder. Practically, we are going to see all these things, guys, in the coming classes. Today, I just want you to have an overview and understanding of this architecture. Once we finish installation in tomorrow's class, I'll explain you practically going into the system and viewing these directories. So as of now, just try to put this image in your mind. If this image is fixed in your mind, then when we do practical, automatically the things will become easier for you. So remember, for root, there is a separate directory /root, and all other users' home directories are created in /home. /home some directory, /home other directory, /home other directory. So every other user in the system will get a directory created in /home. But root is special, separate directory. Okay, then we have our next directory, which is called as boot. See, boot, as the name itself is telling you, right? Boot stores important bootable data that boots your operating system or that starts your operating system. Whenever you power on your machine, as soon as you power on your laptop or desktop, this boot will come into the picture. It holds the image of kernel and other important bootable data that helps to boot your operating system. Then the next directory is etc. Normally etc stands for etc. But here it contains all the configuration files of your system. Now, what is this configuration file? See, guys, every software, every application you install in your system will have some settings. For example, you are working with a media player, let's say VLC media player. So you will adjust the volume, you will adjust the screen, right? Or some changes you will do according to your mood and requirement, right? So those changes, what you are doing in your software and application will stored in the of configuration file. Like, guys, you have user information configuration file, you have DNS information configuration file, you have network configuration file, you have software configuration file. Every important component in your system will have some settings, and those settings will be stored in the configuration file. Like user is there, username and password of the user. So where it stores? Username has a separate configuration file, and the passwords of the user will be stored in a separate configuration file. So configuration file is nothing but the settings file in which the settings of your software and applications or users and other things or network will be stored. And if it is a configuration file, all configuration file will be stored under etc folder. etc stores what? All the configuration files in your system. Then we have another directory here called USR. See, USR, normally there is a confusion, guys. See, when I say USR and ask you what would be there in USR, by viewing that name, you tell me, guys, you might be thinking right now, if I ask you what is USR, the first impression in your mind will be USR stands for user, so there will be
Yes,
something related to user. Yes or no?
yes, yes.
Yes.
Right. That is our first impression. But this is wrong impression because many people pronounce it user. You can pronounce it user, there is no problem. But believe me, there is nothing related to user inside it. At least my students, I don't want them to have that impression. USR you can pronounce that user, but USR full form is Unix Shareable Resources. And believe me, there is nothing related to user inside it. What does it store? It store softwares. All the software that you install in your system will get installed under USR folder. So it is a place where all your software get installed. You install VLC Media Player, Mozilla Firefox, or any other software. When you install the software, by default, all the software are stored in USR, which stands for what? Unix Shareable Resources. Is nothing to do with user. Keep this thing very clear in your mind, even though nobody worries about it, what you think. But I want you to have a perfect knowledge of everything, right? So there is nothing related to user inside it. It is the place where by default your software will get installed. Guys, Unix or Linux is very organized operating system, believe me. It gives you segregation. See, we have some software that is important for operating system. We have some software which is important for our use, which is not important for operating system. Like operating system software will be, for example, your boot important thing, your entire operating system, that paintbrush or something which includes inside your operating system is called as OS related software. Now, after installing the operating system, for our personal usage, we install many third-party software. For example, after installing Windows, to browse internet, you'll go with Firefox or Google Chrome. Now, Firefox and Google Chrome, is it your OS product? No, these are called as third-party products. The product which is someone else's, which is not from your operating system. Like you install some antiviruses like Kaspersky or any other antiviruses. These are also what? Third-party product, the product which is not from your operating system. So Unix or Linux gives you an opportunity to keep all OS software in USR, and non-OS software you can install in OPT. OPT stands for optional directory. It is an optional directory for USR so that you can install all third-party software into OPT. Now this is your choice way. If you want, you can install everything in USR, but if you want to keep the things organized, so you have a choice: OS software in USR, non-OS software in OPT, just to make sure that everything is organized and perfect for understanding. Then guys, we have slash bin. Bin stands for binary folder. See, we understood that system or our operating system or kernel works with binary language. So the instructions, the commands, what you can type and give to kernel will be stored in bin. Bin will be storing all normal level commands. Normal level commands means checking the date of the system, checking the information about the system, listing files, listing directory, all non-administrative commands, simple command, easy to work with, creating file or editing file or viewing system information, all the ordinary non-administrative commands will be kept in bin. But guys, we have some administrative command like shutting down the system or changing the network IP addresses, installing the software, creating more users in the system. These are administrative root level command, root user command. So all the commands that can be run by super user, that is root user, will be stored in SBIN, which stands for what? Super users binary file. That means these are admin level command, very important command, which is stored in SBIN. Ordinary commands in bin, super users administrative commands in SBIN. Then we have slash dev. Dev stands for devices folder. See, in our Windows environment, you have something called device manager. Let me show you. When you go device manager, guys, it displays the list of devices that are connected to your system, like audio devices or batteries and Bluetooth, all your hard disk, many things it is showing you over here, right? So this is device manager. In Unix, in Linux, all the devices that are connected to your system, that information is kept in slash dev. So slash dev is nothing but the place where all your devices information is stored. Hello, any question? Now, excuse me, who is this, the new person? Can you please type down your name for my reference? I don't think that Lenovo is your name. So please put up your name. Thank you. For my reference, it would be easier to recognize you. So as I was telling you guys that slash dev contains all the devices information, right? What kind of devices? It can be hard disk, it can be Bluetooth devices, it can be your pen drive connected, it can be printer, it can be scanners, whatever devices that are connected to your Unix or Linux machine, that information is stored in slash dev directory. Slash dev directory stores devices information, especially your hard disk and other important devices will be stored inside it. Then moving ahead,
Hi, sir.
we have, yes, Shivraj.
Yeah, this is Shuraj only, which I joined from the laptop because of I was unable to see on my mobile.
Okay, okay, okay. So from one place you can get disconnected, otherwise it would be confusion.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to disconnect.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. Thank you, Shivraj. Thank you. So, as I was telling you, dev will store what? Devices information. Then we have another called slash proc. Slash proc contain process files. See guys, every ongoing activity in your system is called as process. right? And every process that is running will have an ID given to it. We call it as process ID. Every ongoing activity is a process, and every process will have a ID associated with that. So all that process ID, process detail, like how much memory it is consuming, how much CPU it is taking, like in Windows, again, see, I'm talking about Windows only to make you comfortable, right? Otherwise, in the coming classes, I'm not going to do this comparison just to make sure. See, over here, you see when you go to Task Manager, it is showing you all the ongoing processes, how much CPU it is taking, how much memory it is taking, how much disk it is taking. So same type of information in Unix or Linux is stored under slash proc. Slash proc is a place that keeps the information about all the ongoing processes in your system and their usage, memory usage, CPU usage, swap usage, all that information will be stored in slash proc. Then we have var. See, var stands for variable data. It stores variable data like mails and logs. Guys, if you have two users in the system, they can exchange emails. One user can send mail to other user. Now to store their mails, don't you think there should be a mailbox to store their incoming outgoing mails information? So that place which stores all the mails for all user is slash var. And also every activity that is going on in the system or that happened in the system, like you tried to log in. Login was successful. One activity happened. You tried to log in, you give wrong password. Login failed. Another activity happened, right? Or you have installed a software. One more activity happened. You created one more user. Another activity happened, right? So all the activities information, events information will be stored in the form of log. At what time, who has done what. This is called as what? Log file. What time so and so has logged in, what time so and so logged out, what time the software installed, what time the software got uninstalled. These are called as logs, events or logs. So these logs will be stored again in var. Then we have TMP directory. Normally, TMP directory is not used every day very much. In some scenarios or situation, TMP directory will come into the picture. Basically, TMP stands for temporary directory. Sometimes when you are installing a software, normally you might have seen that whenever you are installing a software, it generates some data that needs temporarily for a small period of time. So TMP is a place where automatically your system will store the data for temporary amount of time till the work is going on. And as soon as the work is finished, automatically our operating system will delete the data in TMP. So TMP is a place where temporarily for a small period of time the data is stored and deleted automatically. It is an automatic process. We don't disturb it. Whenever OS needs, it stores the data there, and whenever OS work is over, automatically the data will be deleted. So it is not a permanent place to keep your data. Remember that. That is the reason it is called as temporary. Okay, fine. Then we have MNT and media. Now these two directories role you may not be completely understanding today. Whatever you are understanding, keep it with you. When we go with partitioning classes, then I'll explain this concept in a great depth for you guys. So as of now, you just understand that we have some internal devices and some external storage devices. Internal storage device is the hard disk that is connected internally in your laptop or desktop. So in our laptop, desktop, internally there will be hard disks, isn't it? So those internal hard disks, if you want to access it, you have to go to MNT, which allow you to access your internal storage devices, like your hard disk, the partitions inside it, etc. But most of the time we use external media also, like pen drives or CD-ROMs, right? CD drives and all. So if you want to access the pen drive, the CD drive, then you have to access it through slash media. MNT will allow you to connect to internal storage devices, and media will allow you to connect to external storage devices. This much only, if you understand, that is enough. I don't want to go more detail about it right now. But in coming time, we are going to learn this concept of mounting or mount point in a great detail. Then the last directory we are going to talk about is lib. Lib stands for library. See guys, whenever you install some software, the software will also install behind the scene some programming libraries. See, we use C programs, we use Java programs, we use .NET programs, whatever it might be, which are useful for our softwares or operating system. So those libraries like C libraries, Java libraries, or .NET libraries, which is required by OS and the software, will automatically be installed in slash lib. That's it. We don't have to go into slash lib. We don't have to explore any programming concept, these, that, nothing. Only for knowledge you have to keep in your mind. If there is any software related libraries, maybe it is C library, C++ library, Java library, or .NET library, or any other programming library which is needed by software, will be installed automatically in slash lib. They get automatically installed when you install the software. Manually, we are not going to touch anything inside library. Only for information, we know that if there are any software or OS related libraries, they will get installed in slash lib. So this is the way your operating system Unix stores the data. So one more time, we will do a quick review from the beginning. The most important directory in our Unix or Linux operating system is /, from where you will enter into operating system. In other words, the whole operating system is sitting under that /, which is called as what directory? Root directory, the mother directory to store your entire operating system, which is represented by /. So we call it as root directory for entire operating system. When you go into /root, you will find many directories inside it. The directory root, which is the home directory, personal directory for /root. That is your root user, super user. For all other users apart from root, the home directories will be created in /room. So root is a boss getting a separate cabin, separate room, but all normal users are normal employees, so they'll get the cubicles in which they will be sitting and working, right? Then we have /boot that contains important bootable files that is required to boot your operating system. etc contains all the configuration files or your setting files, system setting, user setting, network setting, password settings, all that thing will be there in etc. USR stands for Unix Shareable Resources. People call it as user directory also, but actually there is nothing related to user inside it. It is a default place where all the software will get automatically installed. Now, if you want, you can keep it segregatingly. You can keep OS software in USR, and all third-party non-OS software can be installed in OPT folder. Same way we have bin and sbin. Bin contains ordinary non-administrative command that can be run by anyone. These are simple viewing and making small changes commands like viewing date and time and viewing time zones or listing the files, listing the directories. Ordinary set of commands are kept in bin. Then the most powerful command that needs privilege, administrative rights like creating user, deleting user, setting the password, installing software, uninstalling software, all that thing is kept in sbin. Sbin contains the most powerful command that can only be executed by administrator. Who is the administrator in Unix? Root user. And only one root is there in Unix. We don't have multiple roots. Then you have /dev, which contains all the connected devices information. It can be hard disk, partitions, or printer, scanner, Bluetooth, whatever device is connected to your system, that information is kept in /dev. Next is proc. Proc contains all the ongoing processes information, right? Any activity that is going on in the system is called as process, and that process related information like process ID and other things will be stored in /proc directory. Then you have var that contains all the mails and log files of your system. TMP, as I told you, is used to store temporary data by operating system. Whenever there is a requirement to store a temporary data for a small period of time, it uses TMP for that. And once the work is over, you will see automatically that data will be deleted from TMP. Then you have MNT to access internal storage device like your hard disk and the partition inside it, which is connected to your system, you can access in MNT. To access all removable media like pen drive and CD drive, you can access it through /media. And most of the time, the software that we install on our system requires some special programming libraries like C program libraries, Java program or .NET programming language. Libraries will be installed automatically in /lib. So this is the way the information will be stored. Topmost directory is /. If you go into /, you will see many important subdirectories. Like we have /root, right? Then you have then you have var. Now in home, again, for every user, you will be having your subdirectories like that. It would be going on. So topmost directory is /, which contains next level of important directories, right? Now inside it, you will find all the subdirectories like that. Practically, we will see this entire hierarchy when we complete the installation in tomorrow's class. So tomorrow class, we are going to learn how to install Linux operating system. So tomorrow we will set up the lab. As I told you in the demo class also, in your personal environment, maybe your laptop or desktop, wherever you want, you can install Linux and you can practically work with me. Every day after the class or whenever you get a chance, you can watch the video. You may keep your manual with you. Manual contains all the exercises what you have to do. So you can watch the videos recording every day, you can follow the manual steps, and you can perform your task, whatever we are going to learn. So for doing installation, we have some requirements. I'll tell you what is the requirements you have to do. But before that, if you have any questions or doubts so far, please put your questions, guys, both of you. Or if you don't have any question, then let me know that there are no questions so that I can tell you what you need to prepare for tomorrow's class.
Yeah, I have no question.
Thanks, Hamid. Okay, one request I would like to do is please put up your Gmail ID in message. because if I have to share recordings or any other things, I would do it through my Google Drive. So I need your Gmail IDs. So please, meanwhile, I'll do explanation. Put your Gmail IDs in your chat window so that I may share the resources with you time to time. Okay, so for tomorrow's class, I want you to keep something installed in the machine where you want to do installation, right? So what is that? See, we are going to work on virtualization. Yes, yes, I understood. I understood. Thank you very much for typing your email addresses. Thank you. So, as I was telling you, for tomorrow's class, we are going to install some virtualization software. See, I don't want to disturb your current setup wherever you're working on Windows, on your laptop or desktop, whatever it might be. So what we are going to do is we are going to install a virtualization software. Most of the data center in today's time is virtualized. So we should get to know how virtualization works. Previously, guys, long back, when we don't used to have virtualization, suppose if I need 10 operating system, I used to purchase 10 physical machines. Or suppose if my requirement is 50 operating system, then I need to purchase 50 physical machine. Same way, if I have a requirement of 100 operating system, then I need to purchase 100 physical machine. So just imagine the investment I need to put in. 100 physical machines I need to purchase. And again, imagine that how much place I need to maintain for keeping 100 physical machines, how much electricity I need to provide it, how much networking cables and all activities I need to do that, and overall investment, you need to put up lots of ACs and all. So the cost used to be too much high. To reduce that cost, virtualization has been introduced. So what happens in virtualization, guys? Very beautiful concept is there. In virtualization, we'll take one physical machine. On the top of that physical machine, we will install virtualization operating system or software. There are categories of virtualization. I don't want to go into that detail. Just keep this raw picture in your mind. So one physical box is there. Maybe that is your laptop or desktop. On the top of it, virtualization software will be installed. And with the help of that, in that software, we create something called virtual machine. Now, each virtual machine is a set of CPU, memory, hard disk, same like your physical machine. So every virtual machine can have a different operating system. Parallelly, you can keep Windows, you can keep Linux, you can keep Red Hat, you can keep Solaris, whatever it might be. So now guys, with virtualization, if you want to keep 100 machines, I don't need 100 physical machine. If you need 100 operating system, you don't need 100 physical machine. One good configuration physical box can hold thousands of virtual machine. So just imagine where is 100 physical machine and investment and where is one single box and investment. So in one single physical box, you can keep multiple operating system running parallelly. That is the power of virtualization. So even for our labs, we prefer working with virtualization. So in our lab, what we are going to do, see, we might have our laptop or desktop, which is we have. I'm assuming that we are working on Windows 10 operating system. Like in my case, I have a laptop. In my laptop, Windows 10 is installed. So on the top of Windows 10, I will install one virtualization software. Now in that virtualization software, I will create virtual machine. So we are going to work in that fashion. Now, which virtualization software we are going to use? There are variety of virtualization software that are available. If you're already aware of any virtualization, you can go with your choice virtualization software. But I prefer going with Oracle Virtual Box. So just go to Google and search for Oracle VirtualBox download. Why only Oracle VirtualBox? Because it is free of cost. There are other virtualization software like VMware Workstation. You need license to purchase it. Again, you have to invest money or you have to do piracy. I don't encourage any piracy or other thing. So better go with free software. So you can go with Oracle VM VirtualBox. Just click on that link. It will show you some place from where you can download this Oracle VirtualBox. So you see Windows Host. If you are installing this software for Windows machine, then you have to go for Windows Host. So as my machine is Windows 10, I need this software for Windows. So just click on that and the software will get installed. The software will get downloaded. I'm sorry, not installed. It would be downloaded. So when you click on that, you will find that the software will get downloaded. I already have a software downloaded, so I don't want to go for it one more time. So let's see. If I take you to my download folder, you will find that Oracle VirtualBox is already downloaded. Just you need to double click how you install a normal software, guys, in your system. The same way you have to install this software. Just in Windows, installing software is very simple. Next, 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 and you are done. So you just need to say next, 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 and you know your software will get installed. I already have a software installed, so I don't want to waste my time in again installing, but you just need to say next, 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 and finally finish. So once you perform this installation, it would show this way that your OS, this software is installed. You won't find this tab 6 a.m., 7:30 a.m. That is for my reference. I created inside it. So it will be plain. So just keep this Oracle VirtualBox installed for tomorrow's class. And one more thing you have to do, guys. Another thing is just go to Task Manager. So when you open the Task Manager, go to options, sorry, not options, in performance. See, under performance tab, you need to find out in virtualization, is it enabled or not? See, virtualization must be enabled. Every laptop or desktop has to support virtualization. If it is not supporting, if that virtualization concept is disabled, then you cannot create virtual machines, you cannot work with virtualization. So always you need to find out whether virtualization is enabled or not. If it is enabled, that is cool, fine. If it is not enabled, then what you are going to do? See, if it is not enabled, then you need to enable virtualization. Enable virtualization. Suppose my laptop is Lenovo laptop, for example. So I'll type enable virtualization in Lenovo laptop, ThinkPad, whatever it might be, whatever model name it might be. You just click on that. It shows you the setup, how to do. See, what you need to do is you need to restart your laptop. Once your laptop is getting restarted, you need to press F2, F10, F12, whatever might be the key that takes you into BIOS settings. There is a motherboard setting software, we call it as BIOS. So when you press F2, F10 or F12, any key that takes you into BIOS, this is the way it looks like. You have to go to BIOS, you have to go to advanced settings, and here you may find that virtualization technology is disabled. So just change that disable to enable and restart your machine. So once you make it enable, reboot your machine, and you may go and find out that the disable option will now be enabled. So again, if you come back into Task Manager, go to performance, and in performance you can find that virtualization would be enabled now. So these two things, if you do, that would be a great help for tomorrow's class. Just install the virtualization software and make sure that virtualization support is enabled in your operating system. If it is not enabled, then reboot your machine, press F2 or F12 or del, go to BIOS settings, go to advanced settings, and there you can enable it. Anyway, if you find it difficulty, I'm there to help you. The entire lab setup, I will make sure that you are done and it is available for you. Any problem you are facing, I will try to help you. I'll try to guide you either in the class or after the class. I will be helping you. But at least I want you to try this on your own. First of all, install Oracle VirtualBox and make sure that it is enabled. And also our operating system should be 64-bit, guys. If the Windows is not 64-bit, then this virtualization may not work. How to find is it 64-bit or not? Go to My Computer, go into Properties, and here you can find it. Anyway, all the latest operating systems, they are coming in 64-bit format only. 32-bit is now outdated, but still you need to just make sure that your Windows OS which is installed is 64-bit and virtualization is enabled. If you can make sure these two things are done, then we are done. We will definitely go and complete our installation class tomorrow very easily. So for tomorrow's class, guys, as I instructed, just make sure that these two things are done. Oracle VirtualBox is installed and VT is enabled. If you can keep these two things ready, then our next class will be smooth and fine, right? I hope you understood the concept of today's requirement. And give me some time after the class. It will take some time because after your class immediately I have one more class to take. So immediately after that I'll take another class, and then I'll upload your video recordings and I'll give you the link to watch that video recordings, right? So today's class is end over here, guys. I hope the class is clear. You have any questions, any queries you want to ask me before I stop the session, guys?